hatte ich da einen Lehrmeister, der war wirklich ein guter Typ, ziemlich smart, aber den interessierte Spielen eigentlich nicht unbedingt so sehr. Und dann hatten wir eine Challenge. Wir wollten diese Autos hier, diese VW Lupos, selbst steuern. Und zwar steuern lassen durch ein intelligentes System. Und das war 2001, wo ich in meiner Lehre das erste Mal konfrontiert wurde mit künstlicher Intelligenz. Und von da an faszinierte mich das. Also wir waren wirklich in der Lage, das blaue Auto zu steuern. Es war ein Riesenaufwand. Es war wirklich gut, dass die Grafik ja nicht unbedingt das Allerbeste war, weil wir konnten die Pixels erkennen und versuchen da wirklich diesen blauen Wagen zu steuern durch eine künstliche Intelligenz. Und es funktionierte gut. Und ich sag mal, wir waren nicht schlecht in der Competition intern in der Unternehmung. Wir waren allerdings nicht besser als der beste Mensch quasi, es war eine Frau eigentlich da immer gewonnen hatte. Von da an interessierte mich das. Ich habe mich immer überlegt, was ist eigentlich künstliche Intelligenz? Das möchte ich mit euch heute teilen, was das sein kann. So, what is artificial intelligence? So, first of all, artificial intelligence is for me very fascinating, extremely fascinating. For instance, robotics, which is part of artificial intelligence. So this is Atlas by Boston Dynamics, and it's really doing here when he makes this jump, or it makes this jump, I must say, at the very beginning here. This is very sophisticated for a technical thing. We as humans, for us, it's not so complicated. So artificial intelligence is something which is man-made, so it's not based on, I would say, not biological evolution, and it's just fascinating me actually. So, but there is always the same old question, and the question is AI nowadays more intelligent than humans? That's the same old question already. So I was aware of AI the first time, I did not apply it, 1997, when Garry Kasparov was losing against Deep Blue. And there's always the question, is artificial intelligence more intelligent than humans? And then it's always the question, what is actually intelligence? And my question is actually, is intelligent to waste our time to discuss what actually intelligence or what something intelligent is? I think we should not discuss what intelligence is. We should discuss about and talk about capabilities. So we have human capabilities. Wir als Menschen haben Fähigkeiten. Und ich habe da mal ein paar wichtige Fähigkeiten, die wir als Menschen eigentlich uns zuschreiben, die wir haben. Als eine wäre, dass wir lernen können, Learning. Wir können Sachen erkennen, Perceiving. Wir hoffentlich wissen was, Knowing. Und wir können auch Schlussfolgern, was wir vielleicht manchmal auch als Denken, Reasoning sehen. Und wir können kommunizieren und wir können handeln. Das sind die Fähigkeiten, also einzelne Fähigkeiten oder mögliche Fähigkeiten, die wir haben. Und diese Fähigkeiten versuchen wir in der künstlichen Intelligenz zu übertragen. Und ich habe mal da überlegt, jetzt habe gesagt, 20 Jahre war das her, das erste Mal, wo ich da wirklich künstliche Intelligenz angewendet habe, ohne groß zu wissen, was ich mache. Ihr müsst wissen, ich kam von der Schule, eine Lehre, ich machte Berufsmatur. Meine Kollegen konnten mir helfen mit dem mathematischen Verständnis natürlich, dass man natürlich in einem Studium natürlicherweise lernt. Aber trotzdem, es war mir möglich, da mal einen ersten Schritt zu machen. Ja. Und jetzt ist die Frage, was ist jetzt eigentlich künstliche Intelligenz? Und ich möchte die Intelligenzdiskussion nicht führen, sondern ich möchte mehr über Möglichkeiten sprechen, die wir transferieren können auf einen digitalen Agenten oder auf Computer. This is my conclusion I have since 20 years. AI aims to transfer systemic and cognitive capabilities, so was wir uns oft auch zuschreiben, to digital agents and computers. Okay, so machen wir einen Realitätscheck. Learning and Perceiving, das ist, würde ich mal sagen, heutzutage ein richtiger Hype. Jeder spricht über maschinelles Lernen, Machine Learning, dann Wissen und Schlussfolgern. Das ist das Ziel eigentlich, was ich sehe jetzt und schon für heute und für unseren MAKEathon hier. Das ist auch etwas, was ein Revival feiert, würde ich eigentlich sagen. Und es gibt einen dritten Bereich, Communicating and Acting, was ich eigentlich als die Zukunft sehe. Okay. Steigen wir kurz ein. Learning and Perceiving. Wie gesagt, wir sind vermutlich begeistert davon, was maschinelles Lernen kann. Hier ein Screenshot von meinem YouTube-Channel. Das ist quasi ein Recommender System. And this is absolutely fascinating me. Every evening when I want to watch some YouTube videos, it's recommending me, what I like. It's not bad. So it's really good, and this is always fascinating me that it understands from what we can say understand from my data and just recommends me what I seem to like. It's really fantastic, and you also maybe know it. The younger generation from TikTok, you actually get the videos which you like or you want to see. So you are in your bubble. And it's really fascinating. It's really something which I really think that's machine learning. So, and I've mistakenly was saying before, knowing. It's not so knowing. So it's more about learning from data, or more using data. And this is referred to data science, so the science about data. Okay. But it can also go the wrong way. Wir können auch scheitern mit Machine Learning. Und wir kennen das vielleicht heutzutage. Wir wissen, dass es gibt da zwei große Trends oder zwei große Probleme aktuell. Das eine ist Misinformation und das zweite ist der Klimawandel. Und das zweite, das ist, würde ich sagen, ein Fakt. Nur glauben nicht alle an diesen Fakt. Ja. Und was ich gerne mache, es gibt Leute, die schauen gerne Horror-Movies. Ich nicht. Was ich manchmal gerne mache, ist, ich schaue mir manchmal Verschwörungstheorien an und Misinformation. It's like my personal horror show. And I like to do that. I do not believe. Und es hat auch noch einen zweiten Grund. Ich versuche zu verstehen, warum gewisse Leute gewisse Dinge glauben. Ja, darum schaue ich mir das an. Und das mache ich manchmal. Und da muss ich grausam aufpassen. Ich muss grausam aufpassen, zum Beispiel mit YouTube. Wenn ich das mache, dann schlägt mir dieser YouTube-Algorithmus dann, wenn ich etwas schauen möchte, was ich wirklich gerne habe, da ein paar Verschwörungstheorien vor. Ich muss da grausam aufpassen, weil das System kennt mich nicht. Es weiß eigentlich nichts über mich. Es hat Daten über mich, ja. Aber es weiß nicht, dass ich eigentlich nur ab und zu mal Verschwörungstheorien konsumiere. Okay, jetzt kann man sagen, für mich, ja, das ist ein kleines Problem. Es gibt auch wenige Leute, die sich gerne Verschwörungstheorien anschauen. Aber es gibt Leute, die versuchen sich zu informieren. Es gibt Leute, die haben Freunde, die ihnen gewisse Dinge zusenden, wie irgendein YouTube-Video oder ein TikTok-Video oder so. Und wenn man da in die falsche Richtung geht, hat man plötzlich eine Bubble, in der man steckt, ein Kaninchenbau quasi, aus dem man nicht mehr rauskommt. Und es ist so, auf YouTube zum Beispiel, oder auch auf Social Media kann man sagen, die Empfehlungen zu 70% sind maschinell, sind Machine Learning. Ja. Und zu 30% sind sie handgemacht. Und das ist ein Problem. Und das Problem is that you have to charge the battery on that thing. Oh, yeah. So, how can it be that companies claim to be able to precisely targeting ads and at the same time are unable to counter disinformation? This is something which I really very often think about. I've read this from an interview with a professor at Berkeley, and this is something which I really do not understand. From the first thought. Ich kann nicht verstehen, warum Unternehmen viel Geld mit zielgerichteter Werbung verdienen, aber nicht in der Lage sind, Misinformation oder Fake News quasi zu behandeln, richtig. Okay, so, and the question is, how can it be, apart from the economic aspect, which I do not want to discuss, that it's so difficult for AI algorithms to filter disinformation? Und dabei kann man wirklich sagen, Data Science und Machine Learning ist ziemlich oft und für heutige Probleme nicht genug. Und darum sind wir hier. Okay, so gehen wir weiter zu Knowing and Reasoning. This is me with my son. He is climbing for the first time. Ja. Okay, warum ich jetzt das bringe, hat eine Tradition. Ich brachte das schon meinen Sohn als Beispiel vor 4 Jahren, wo wir dieses erste Symposium hatten at Stanford University, wo wir versuchten, maschinelles Lernen und Wissensrepräsentation zusammenzubringen. Okay, das ist eine Tradition. Nummer 2, Eltern sind immer stolz auf die Kinder, hoffentlich, aber das ist alles nicht so wichtig für Sie oder für euch. Wichtig ist eher, dass mich das fasziniert, wie Kinder lernen. Ja. Wie Kinder ein Problem lösen. Da muss man nicht Eltern sein dafür, da kann man auch irgendwie Schulsport machen oder Sporttrainerin oder Trainer sein. Das ist mein Sohn, der klettert zum ersten Mal. Das war etwa vor 4 Wochen oder 5 Wochen im Wallis. Hier zum zweiten Mal. Er ist 4 Jahre. Ja. Das da ist Atlas 8 Jahre eigentlich und versucht irgendwie in eine Box zu springen. Und er macht das etwa zum 100. Mal. Ja. Das ist auch Atlas, der versucht da über diese Rampen zu laufen. Immer wenn ich das Bild sehe, bekomme ich Schmerzen in meinem Knie, aber das ist eine andere Story. Der ist 8 Jahre. Also this robot has been developed 8 years ago. Started this project at Boston Dynamics, and he tries this. I would say not the first time. So how can this be? 4-year-old son climbing first time, and it didn't fall down. Kein Kratzer. Im Vergleich zu Atlas. Und Atlas ist halt ein bisschen eingeschränkt. Atlas versucht zu lernen, man programmiert den auch und er versucht gewisse Sachen zu erkennen. Das ist etwa das, was der Atlas erkennen kann, wenn er über diese Boxen springt. Das Problem ist, wir Menschen, können erkennen, dass das Boxen sind oder so halb. Wir wissen, ja, da müssen wir wohl drüber springen. Und mein Sohn weiß auch, wo er sich befindet. Er hat Erfahrung, er kann laufen. Er hat schon irgendwie vielleicht mal auf einen Baum geklettert. Er hat Common Sense, also quasi gesunder Menschenverstand im übertragenen Sinn. Und er hat implizites und explizites Wissen. Ja. Atlas hat ein Problem, der hat das nicht. Der hat vielleicht diese Seite, aber die andere Seite, die fehlt. Und darum sind wir hier, dass wir eigentlich schlussendlich diese beiden Seiten zusammenbringen. Okay, so we have it. Make. Combining machine learning and knowledge engineering. But, I mean, it's not all about knowledge. It's something more. And that's the future. There is more, there is interaction going on between me and my son. So it's about communication and acting. So a successful interaction requires to understand or being aware about human or personal capabilities. Das bin ich hier auf der rechten Seite. Ich unterrichte Judo-Schülerinnen und Schüler. Und ich weiß, was die können. Ja. Also ich kann ihnen helfen, dass sie lernen können, weil ich weiß, was die können. Ja. Und wir haben eine Interaktion dabei. Ja. Aber mir ist klar, was die können. Ja. Was für Fähigkeiten die haben. Die sind jetzt Orangegurt. Ja. Die sind wirklich so quasi in Advanced Studio Cars. So I know what they do. Und da frage ich mich immer, ist es wirklich zielführend, wenn wir zum Beispiel, when we build a chatbot, for instance, or an interface to artificial intelligence, that we always hide the capabilities of AI. That we make an artificial being human-like. And I say that doesn't have to be. So, wir sollten Dinge erschaffen, wo wir wissen, was die können, wenn wir damit interagieren. Ja. Aus meiner Sicht ist es ein großer Fehler, einen Chatbot zum Beispiel oder einen virtuellen Agenten, so wie Siri, Cortana, Alexa oder Google Assistant, so zu bauen, dass wir nicht mehr wissen, dass es kein Mensch ist. Ja. Weil nur wenn wir, only if we can recognize that this is an artificial being, then we can understand, learn which capabilities they have. And then we can have a successful interaction with it. And this is always the case, even when humans interact. We can say, we should build that artificial being in the way that it's very natural. Yeah, that's good. That's good. As natural as possible. Aber es ist ja auch so, wenn wir mit Menschen reden, wissen wir, was für Fähigkeiten die haben, wie alt die sind. Und wir passen uns an. Dass es optimal funktioniert, die Interaktion. Okay. Oder hier Ameisen. Anderes Beispiel. Und ein Beispiel insbesondere, weil wir uns als Menschen ja immer als die Besten sehen. Der Evolution. Nicht der Schöpfung, der Evolution. Ja. Aber es gibt auch andere Lebewesen, die sehr gut miteinander interagieren können. Die zusammen gut interagieren können und dann eine sogenannte kollektive Intelligenz bauen können. Was wir hier sehen, ist ein sind Ameisen, die vom Nest zum Futter gehen. Ja. Und die haben nicht so viele Fähigkeiten, aber was die haben, ist eine gute Interaktion. Ja. Und darum sage ich, wir sollten in der Zukunft uns Gedanken machen über intelligente Systeme. Ja. So, I know 1 plus 1 is not more than 2. Bitte sagt es nicht eurem Mathelehrer übermorgen. Aber für Systeme gilt das. Ja. Ja, wir haben Menschen, also wir sind zwei Menschen hier, die interagieren. A human agent in the loop of another human agent. Maybe try to solve a problem. Ja. And what we then have is an intelligent system. And we know this, right? We have alumni here studying business information systems. We have alumni and students here from medical informatics. And we know informatics and information systems that always involves human. We are not studying computer science, the science about the computer only. So we are studying or have been studying about information systems, involving always human actors and digital actors. And this is what should be the goal also in future. So we have on the one side machine learning, knowledge engineering, what we do today. And on the other side, we have our human capabilities, the human cognition, and we should actually try to get the human in the loop of AI or the AI in the loop of the human. So the final question is, does make sense, or why make sense? Because it does. So on the one side, we have the human capabilities, and on the other side, we have machine learning and knowledge engineering. And machine learning and knowledge engineering is the basis for creating intelligent systems. We have to understand, we have to learn, at least, and we have to put the digital agents into the loop of the human agents. And now, so what does that mean for our MAKEathon? So it's not about AI only, in my point of view. It's about building intelligent systems, involving always the human. So, und unsere Fragen sollten sein für diesen MAKEathon: Does something learn we create? Kann es lernen? Kann das Ding lernen, was wir erstellen? Weiß es was? Hat es einen Kontext? Does it know? And can it interact? And then we are happy. And the robot hopefully as well. So, that was my final word. So let's have fun with MAKEathon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andreas. So now is the turn of Professor Dr. Knut Hinkelmann, the professor who gave us the vision of Make, by the way. And so it's my great pleasure to have him on stage. And later on I will be back, okay? So we will continue later with the pitching sessions and so on.
Okay, welcome also from my side to this MAKEathon. As Andreas already said, it's about combining machine learning and knowledge engineering, or knowledge-based system. And I will talk a little bit about that. And I start with a quote that I that was fascinating me when I started with AI. The brain happens to be a meat machine. Also das Gehirn ist eine Maschine aus Fleisch. My professor said we have the silicon hardware am Computer, and we have die feuchte Hardware here. Both are machines, beide sind Maschinen. So, something like that. Yeah? So, brain happens to be a meat machine. But what does it mean? Was bedeutet das, wenn das eine Maschine ist? Fangen wir an, was ist eigentlich menschliche Intelligenz? Andreas hat es vermieden, über Intelligenz zu reden. Ich mache es trotzdem. Wir haben zwei Arten von Intelligenz. Wir sind stolz, rational denken zu können. Yeah? We are rational thinkers. We can think logically. But our brain is also able to deal with huge amounts of data. Wir können große Datenmengen verarbeiten. Ihr hört mir zu, ihr schaut auf die Folien, ihr denkt darüber nach, alles gleichzeitig. At the same time, listening, watching, thinking. This is the second thing. So we can have huge amounts of data and we can process them and we can adapt. Wir können lernen. But there are two different things what our brain can do. Thinking fast with a lot of data and having some consciousness, rational thinking. And this is what we can combine. And this is the picture Andreas already showed. We have these two things also in our make. We have on the one hand side the symbolic AI, this is the rational thinking, and we have the machine learning dealing with huge amounts of data. And we should bring this together. This is our goal. And I'll talk a little bit about history of AI. AI, when did it start? Some people think it started 10 years ago. It started 1956. There was a conference. At the beginning of AI, it was about understanding principles of thinking. Yeah? Prinzipien des Denkens verstehen. And it also led to practical applications. Man konnte es sogar anwenden. Yeah? And this is what we say is with symbolic AI. Maschinen bauen, die denken können. In principle, it's that we have an expert system to solve problems. And we have the knowledge there, explicit knowledge. We have the humans who programmed this knowledge base. Yeah? And we have a guy who has a problem, and we want the system should support to solve the problem. So we get a solution with the knowledge that is in the system. So what is the problem with that? It takes a lot of time and effort to build this machine, and we have to maintain it. So this is a problem that we faced. So with AI having these practical applications, people were disappointed because it was so much effort to build these machines. So there was what is called the AI winter. AI was not used a lot. Okay? But why does it happen? Warum wurde KI nicht so stark angewendet, obwohl man Milliarden in die KI gesteckt hatte? There are some problems. Self-driving cars. So this was a quote. It's not that old. It is impossible to imagine that we can discover all the rules to replicate the driver's behavior. Es ist unmöglich, alle Regeln aufzuschreiben, wie man Auto fährt. Or Face Recognition, Gesichtserkennung, zu beschreiben, wie ein Gesicht aussieht. We recognize the people when we met them. It's the same person, even if it is in a different environment. But we cannot describe it. Think of, there's a baby, and the people say, oh, it's like the mother, it's like the father. And you have 2 or 3 people and do not agree. But we cannot say, why is it looking like the father and why is it looking like the mother? Wieso gleicht es dem Vater und welcher Teil gleicht der Mutter? Wir können es nicht beschreiben. Wir versuchen es immer, ja, Augen, Mund, but it's not really to explain. Another example, Andreas said I should bring this. This was what they did in translation. They started with the translation, and this was in the 60s, 70s. This was the Cold War. Kalte Krieg, and they tried to translate English into Russian and Russian into English, mainly Russian into English because they wanted to spy what is Russia doing. So they made translation system, Übersetzungssystem. So they translated it into Russian, and to see whether it's correct, they translated it back into English. And they should be somehow the same. Yeah? So there were nice examples what happened with that. Yeah? This was an example. The spirit was willing, but the flesh was weak. In Deutsch, der Geist war willig, aber das Fleisch war schwach. So translated into Russian, translated back, and this was what came out. The vodka was good, but the meat was rotten. Ja? Der Wodka war gut, aber das Fleisch war scheußlich. Yeah? You can think of spirit, vodka, yeah? And flesh and meat. Okay? Another nice example, out of sight, out of mind. Aus den Augen, aus dem Sinn. Translated, blind and insane. Blind und wahnsinnig. So, how could this happen? Yeah, they built a knowledge base and translated it. They said this word corresponds to that. They had a large dictionary and the rules of grammar. But words have different meanings in different contexts. Wörter haben unterschiedliche Bedeutungen in unterschiedlichen Kontexten. So we have to understand the context. So the solution is to use machine learning, subsymbolic AI as we also call it. Yeah? And we call it also statistical machine learning, dealing with huge amounts of data, mit großen Datenmengen Arbeit. So we have data. We give this to a machine learning system, often a neural network, neuronales Netz, wie wir das im Kopf haben. And then, yeah, we have a solution. It's now sorting the elements. So this is what we learn with a lot of data. Die zweite Art unseres Denkens. Yeah? So Andreas already mentioned it. One very large success was beating Kasparov by Deep Blue. Oder 2016, ein Sieg von der Maschine im Go. Aber there are many more examples of that. So, for example, what I said before, self-driving cars. We now have self-driving cars. The system can recognize where is some obstacle, wo ist ein Hindernis, wo man vorbeifahren muss. Face recognition. Cancer diagnosis, also mit Diagnose in der Medizin, großer Teil von Anwendung. Translation. Yeah, we can translate automatically by learning, giving it a lot of data, a lot of text that was translated, and the system learns what are the rules for that. Not making it explicit, but they can translate. Deep, how's it called? Deep L, thank you. We can also combine this with picture recognition and changing the pictures, translate the text in a picture. Coloring images, also from learning. Or even composition of music, something more creative. Yeah? So viele Anwendungen in diesem Bereich. Und was ist der Vorteil, wenn man das mal anschaut, Medizin, Krebsdiagnose, das System hat Wissen von vielen, vielen Experten. Nicht nur einen oder eine, sondern viele, viele Experten wissen in dem System. Knowledge of many, many experts can be in the system. So we assume that it can be better than the human, because it's more experience. But there are problems. There's Probleme mit dem Machine Learning. One thing is what I call discontinuity. There is one time when we collect the data, wir sammeln die Daten. And there's another time when we apply it, when we solve the problem. What happens if there's the situation when we apply it is not the same as the situation when we collected the data? I have this example flying. Yeah? The behavior of the people changed in the last years. It started a few years back with the climate change. People did not fly that much. Now we have the pandemic, so also the behavior of the people changed. So what we learn about the behavior of people before the pandemic cannot be used nowadays, because it is different. Die Leute verhalten sich heute beim Fliegen anders als noch vor 4, 5 Jahren. Alle Daten, die wir von damals haben, sind für bestimmte Anwendungen wertlos. So that's not happening. But what do? We still have airlines. They have knowledge, they know how to deal with this situation. Another example, neural networks. Yeah? Well, how does a neural network work? So we give it a lot of data. Here we want to distinguish between cats and dogs. So we have the pictures of cats and dogs. It goes into the network. And at the end, this is a dog. And this is fed back. Or if it is wrong, it's also fed back. The system learns and becomes better and better. Yeah? So we learn. And we can apply it. We give a new picture. And the system tells us this is a dog or this is a cat. So it should tell us that this is a cat. Ja? Das System lernt und kann uns nachher für neue Bilder sagen, was es ist. Anwendungen, Krebsdiagnose zum Beispiel. Yeah. But what happens if we give this picture? Is it a cat or is it a dog? It's a wolf. What would the system say? Either cat or dog. Doesn't know wolves. Yeah? So AI systems are totally limited to this specific application that they are built for. They don't have general knowledge. Is this a man or a woman? Mann oder Frau? Who says it's a woman? Wer sagt, es ist ein Mann? Okay, you are better than the AI. The AI system, they say, this is a woman. And why? Because there were many pictures of women that were taken in the kitchen. And the system recognized the kitchen. Erkennt die Küche, den Hintergrund, and uses this for learning. Okay? So we have data bias. We have to be really careful what data we give to the system. And the system does not recognize what is the foreground, what is the background. Ja, we work on that. The AI systems become better. Sie werden besser, aber that's a problem. And one question is, can decisions without explanation be intelligent? If the system makes a decision and says we should do this or that, and we simply gives us the answer, this is a cat or it's a dog, and we have the wolf, and it says this is a cat, and say, why do you think it's a cat? The system cannot explain anything. And we regard this as intelligent. We say artificial intelligence to such a system without any explanation. And now look at this example. We have diagnosis, Krebserkennung. Yeah? And the systems are really good. But then we have therapy. So now assume the system diagnosed that you have cancer. Or not you, I have cancer. Okay, let's say my example. So I have cancer here in the head. The system recognizes, ich habe Krebs hinter dem Auge. And the system tells me you should have a surgery. Eine Operation. Should you trust such a system? What would you do if you go to a doctor and tells you, hey, you have a surgery here in the head, immediately behind the eyes? I would ask, what are the alternatives? What is the risk that I have? The system just tells me, hey, make a surgery. Does not tell alternatives. Does not give an explanation. Should we trust this? Is this intelligent? And the system only recognizes cancer. Yeah, this is also the other thing. It's limited. So, but very good in that. But the advantage of a human would be that we have broad knowledge. This is the advantage of a doctor. That der Arzt oder die Ärztin haben Wissen, um das nachher zu erklären oder auch die Diagnose besser zu stellen, Alternativen zu erkennen. It's also in business we have this. When we think of insurance, you go for insurance, health insurance. They make a risk analysis, whether they make benefit from the business or not. And additionally, they have rules, compliance. Who is allowed to make an insurance? Wer darf eine Versicherung abschließen? Wer muss eine Versicherung abschließen? Es gibt Regeln, es gibt Aufsichten, die müssen wir einhalten. You cannot learn this. The rules have to be followed. So this is knowledge, both is knowledge. One is that we learn, the other knowledge is that we have to program. Only the two together can say whether we should accept or must accept an application for the insurance. You can also think of banking very similar if you want to have a credit wenn man einen Kredit haben will. Or my favorite example, driving behavior. Yeah, we learn self-driving cars. And they are really good to recognize obstacles. Die sind wirklich gut für Hindernisse zu erkennen, zu bremsen, wie stark man bremst, das können wir nicht programmieren. Aber es gibt Verkehrsregeln. And we cannot learned them. Verkehrsregeln änderten sich vielleicht von einem Tag auf den anderen. Im Januar hatten wir Änderungen von Verkehrsregeln. We cannot let the cars drive for some months and say, okay, and sometime they will recognize that the rules have changed. From whom should they learn this if no one applies them? So there are things that we have to program. That's the knowledge that we have, that we also learn, not from learning, from doing. We read the text and we learn it. That's why you go to school. Das ist, warum wir in die Schule gehen. Wir lernen, bringt an was bei. Wenn es nur von Erfahrung wäre, bräuchte keiner mehr in die Schule zu gehen. So it's about combining machine learning and knowledge representation. This is what makes. So some examples here, how we could combine this. So we have a diagnosis, based on data. And then we have the therapy. And the therapy could be decided by a human. Entscheidung durch einen Menschen. Using the result of the image recognition. So very limited where we can apply it, and it enhances the intelligence of the human. Intelligent system, as Andreas called it. Yeah? This would be an example of a combination. This is done with the help of the humans, and maybe also the knowledge that we program into the system. Or when you think of this example with the driving behavior, we have the driving behavior learned from images, from videos, where the car is driving, and we make a knowledge base of the rules. And these two together would be an application. So ein Teil gelernt und ein Teil programmiert. Und beides zusammen erlaubt uns zu fahren. And also here, we learn from previous applications, whether the company made profit from clients, from customers. This is what we learn. And then we have the rules that are programmed. So this is what we want to achieve. The combination of the sub-symbolic AI, the machine learning, MA, and the knowledge engineering, the symbolic AI, KE. So it's the hybrid intelligence that we are looking for. Okay, this was my introduction, how we can combine machine learning and knowledge engineering, and what is the obstacle if we only use one of these two sides. And this is why makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Knut, and thank you, Andreas, for these two inspiring keynotes. Wir gehen weiter jetzt. We go forward. And I would say ein Liebe-Tschüss to the MAKEathon youth, Jungs and Mädchen, because they have their own schedule. They're going to go to Ori. Very exciting little challenges that they can prepare them for resolving tomorrow's challenges. But the MAKEathon adults stay here. Maya and Charuta will take care of you. We are going to see us again for lunch. Not with the young, not for lunch, for dinner, all together. And Maya ist weggegangen, schön. So, step by step, we can restart. Why MAKEathon then? Now we learn about the importance of having these two approaches to prominent subfields of AI that can compensate each other. And so I would like to bring you the 3L that, in my opinion, makes this MAKEathon special. The first one is learn about current complex company challenges across industry. So we are going to hear 12 very interesting pitches across industry, and this is already on its own very interesting to hear and to learn and apply our learnings from these 2 days on how to solve these company challenges. Then the second L is learn from the advances of AI in research. So we know now Make, we have experts not only from industry, but also from research, where you can just use all our knowledge. We are here to support you and to guide you through in case you have some questions, doubts, and so on. Then the third learn is learn from advances in AI technology. And for this, we have 3 top international tech companies that are sponsors also this year. They held already 3 very interesting tutorials where we can get along with the technology, but they're also here to support you further, to get started, or also to enhance your technical capabilities. And these are Microsoft, Databricks, and Ontotext. So Microsoft and Databricks are focusing on the machine learning part mainly. And on the other hand, we have knowledge engineering. So we have graph databases offered by Ontotext, GraphDB, and there you can create, store, exploit your graph knowledge. Then it's up to you how you combine these things. And as Knut suggested, also you can focus on one and then think on how you can supplement the other part to make the first one, the machine learning part, more intelligent, or the other way around. You can start with the knowledge base and then think on how you can enhance this knowledge you can exploit by embracing these ML machine learning approaches. So these are the 3 learnings, and in the middle we have, in the intersections, we have MAKEathon. So what does make MAKEathon special? It's our passions, your passion, our passion for it, and then what you have already heard is the combination of the strength between these 2 prominent subfields in AI. Good, let me guide you through the information event, finally. I'm gonna try to keep it short. So now I will continue to give you some information, basic information. Then at 11, more or less, we're already out of time. So at some point we will start with a pitching session in, let's say, maximum 7-8 minutes. Then we're going to have the group formation. So my suggestion is that each challenge provider try to find a place here in the aula in different corners so that groups or members, participants, makers, they know where they are and they can just team up and gain more knowledge about the challenge. Then later on, we're going to have a lunch break. There has been a change last minute. We're not going to be in the canteen, which is further down, but just right behind the corner, here in the atrium B. You just walk this side, and then on the left-hand side, there will be lasagne for lunch. Then dinner this evening at around 7, even a little bit earlier. What is important is to have a group picture all together with a T-shirt. We are going to do it together with the teenagers here. So we come back here. They will be doing some presentation here. If you would like to take a break, you can come here and hear the presentation. They will start at 5:30, and or if you are too much into the challenge implementation, then you can just pop up here at 6 for the group picture, and then we are going to fetch the pizzas for you, and we are going to have some nice pizzas together. Tomorrow at 9, but we're going to arrive a little bit earlier also, but yeah, this is like the latest time. At 9 we're going to be here. Coffee and croissant are going to be offered. Then lunch break also is going to be offered at around 12. Then at 4 o'clock, very important, we start the pitching session of the makers, so of those who are implementing the challenges. It's up to you how you present. You can do it a group presentation, or you can pick one person that present. Then at 5, we're going to have some statements from the challenge providers. So those for which the challenge was chosen are welcome to come on stage and then say a few words about how their challenge was implemented. Then we're going to have at 6 p.m. an apero. In the meantime, we can decide who the winner is, and then we are going to give, or we're going to close the session with a word. Good, so 6 p.m. this evening, don't forget group picture. Then, where are we? So the canteen, to give you an orientation, now we are in the ground floor, so the canteen is further down. In case you would like to eat on your own, for whatever reasons, then there is one of the places where you can eat. You cannot eat anywhere else, except Atrium B. Atrium B, here is where the main meals are going to be consumed, okay? And then we have a few rooms that are available for you. You can go there and work on your own. And just let us know where you are so that we can, all the coaches, mentors can come and give you some input. How do we recognize ourselves? We have some badges, and in which it's written whether we are mentors, sponsor, partner, staff, or makers. So as I announced, you are not alone. These are the phases of the coaches, mentors. I start with the Intelligent Information System Research Group, which is the group where I work, headed by Knut Tinkelmann. So starting from the left, Knut Tinkelmann, together also with a summary of the competencies. This could help you in case you would like to know more about machine learning or knowledge engineering. These slides, by the way, are already uploaded on Microsoft Teams, so you can consult them. Then we have Professor Dr. Hans Friedrich Witschel, Andreas Martin, as you already know, Stefan Jungling, Galia Kondova, David Montechiari, Cheruta Pandem, Maya Spahic, and myself. Then we have also the staff that obviously I thank all. Lucia Passeri, dealing with social media and content. Then we have Yolanda Birrer, event management assistant, and Matteo Molteni, ICT assistant. Then we have mentors from Microsoft. Florian Asihi is here, ready, waving. Perfect, welcome. Florian is going to be here today, this morning, and until lunchtime, more or less, Florian? More or less lunchtime, and then is going to be available online, so you can just ping him. Then we have also a colleague of him, Ashok Kumar Samal. If you have watched the tutorials, you might remember him. He was one of the trio I held the tutorials, and is going to be available remotely. You can also ping him. This is his email. He's also in the system already. You can just tag him. We have, I'm going to show you in the next slide, there are channels that I have prepared for each technology provider. So ask Microsoft, ask Databricks, ask OntoText, so that in case you want to have a very quick help. Then, mentor from Databricks, we have Diego Fanesi. He's going to be available both days physically here. Here is Diego, he's waving now. Welcome, Diego. Then we have mentors from OntoText. They are available online. Peyo Popov and Radostin Nanov, they also already have provided the tutorials. Then we have mentors from Basel, Michel Laubscher, Igor Balasov, and Johannes Stelli. They are available and Andreas Ott, for which he was not provided a picture, but he's one of the coaches as well, and is going to be available on Sunday afternoon only for him, this applies. And in case you would like even to reach out to them, you can contact me. And then we have the staff in the Team Basel. We have Isabel De Rio that help with logistics, Dorothea Ganser, and Jan Kruta. Jan has also expertise in ML and healthcare. In case some of the challenges I already know that are covering this application domain. Then, how do we collaborate? We have MAKEathon channel, MAKEathon FIMV or FHNW 2021. On the left-hand side, you see there are like a few channels that are open. So general, ask Databricks, ask Lexcellence as well. We have legal experts. Welcome. So I see Carmen. And ask Microsoft and ask OntoText. So very easy. You go in the channel, you tag, you ask your question, and then please, the experts try to look, to keep an eye on that. I will also do it so that I will try also to facilitate this communication. Communications will also take place on the general channel. So in case I need to remind something, then I would just send the communication there. For example, if I see that someone is too late for the pizza, then I put a message and then say, hey guys, it's time to eat. And new channel, new team channel. Here we are going to enter your team group. So best would be if everyone has a name. We are going to create you a private channel in which you can collaborate, even if you have some collaborators or members that are joining online. So we have an Excel sheet, very important, this one. Please help me, the makers. So it is stored already in Microsoft Teams under the folder makers. We need this information so that the organization goes smooth. Starting with the meals, who is going to have dinner with us tonight and lunch tomorrow, so that we avoid as much as possible the food waste. And then we're going to need also, we would like to know whether you want to play a video while presenting tomorrow at the pitching session, or if you present with your own computer, or this one is fine. If that is fine, I need to have the presentations in advance. Then your link to the GitHub repository, hopefully one of you has it, because then what we suggest is to put all the artifact prototype on a GitHub space that we have created for you. I'm going to show it to you in the next slide. Then who is going to be the presenter so that I can nicely introduce that? And then, the room, where are you working? Which room have you decided? So that all the coaches and mentors know where you are. Challenge and team name. Okay? So this is a QR code. If you would like to scan it, you will be directed into your GitHub space. I'll give you a few seconds. And there will be the need of creating the repository. So David will support on that. David, can you raise your hand? He is David. Great help today. And here also, one last thing important for the makers. Some challenge providers will end in a non-disclosure agreement for the respective challenges to be implemented. So just be aware of it. And when you talk to the challenge provider, this could be the case. Nothing happens. You can just sign the NDA if you agree, and then you can work on the challenge. Each challenge has been carefully selected by Frieder. Thanks, Frieder, for that. So we have not only very interesting challenge, but we made sure that we have data for each challenge so that you can all work on this challenge. Data are there. Then makers can use any technology to implement the challenges. However, you are facilitated by the technologies that have been already introduced to you. Then please upload your solutions and presentations latest 3:30 p.m. tomorrow, so that you have some time, half an hour to relax a bit, to receive a massage. Maybe we can also arrange this in some room, and then everything will be fine. At 4 p.m. we start. Then, Best MAKEathon 2021 award. We have 3 main evaluation criteria. One is the relevancy of the selected challenge, so to which extent is your prototype relevant to the challenge? Then, is the challenge innovative? Sorry, the prototype, not the challenge. Is the prototype that you have implemented innovative? And then, does this make combination make sense or not? And was it meaningfully applied? So these are the three main criteria that with the jury members we're going to look at for electing the winner MAKEathon 2021. I would like to give a big thank to our sponsors. So diamond sponsor PostFinance, then gold sponsor Microsoft and Databricks, and finally bronze sponsor Ontotext and Basel Versicherung. Then also big thank to other companies who supported the organization in their own way. So Digital Olten, Eldec Wind, Swiss Dev Jobs, Digital Basel, Lexcellence, On Remote, and Swiss Cognitive. Good, that's it. Let's have fun. Let's shape the future of AI together. And now I would just like to introduce you the first presenter for the challenge providers, PostFinance. PostFinance is our diamond sponsor. As such, we'll get 10 minutes for talking about the project, AI-related projects, and then 5 minutes for the challenge.
Actually, maybe I can start. You can hear me. Okay. So, first of all, I want to thank the organizers for having us, and I'd like to thank PostFinance for being the diamond sponsor here, and allowing me to kind of talk to you for a little bit of extra time about what we're doing in data science and artificial intelligence in PostFinance. Is this okay? No, this is fine. Is it okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. Good. So we heard some very good academic introductions of what AI is this morning, and that's good because I don't actually have a clue. So I work in the business side, and so I can give you kind of the business perspective of what you do in an artificial intelligence group in a business where the data is not the main product. So in PostFinance, we're a bank. The banking is the main product. AI, machine learning, is a supporting group inside of our analytics. And so, you know, I looked up on Wikipedia what AI is. We're going to just skip that, and we remember from the nice talks we had earlier. From the business perspective, AI is basically everything. So AI is now a buzzword, and it is flying at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour with products and consultants and things. And it doesn't make sense in business anymore to discuss, is this AI or not? It's everywhere. But we have to decide on what to do. So we have an AI group. We have to work on something all day, and I'm going to tell you what we actually do in the context of our internal team. So I put this into 3 categories. So one thing we do is we try to understand our data. This would be like advanced analytics. So there's this saying that any technology of us, suitable complexity is indistinguishable from magic. That's kind of like any analytics of a suitable complexity is indistinguishable from AI when you're selling it to business people who work in Excel all day. So this would be, for example, pulling insights out of the hundreds of millions of transactions we have per month at PostFinance. We do predictive modeling, so this is kind of your bread and butter data science task. I'm going to give one specific example for marketing, but we also do fraud and risk identification, finance, forecasting, things like this. And the last part is automation. That's where our challenge goes. So performing a job a human used to do. So one thing we're doing right now is a very new and exciting project. We're getting into natural language processing. So if you go to PostFinance CH right now and open our chatbot and type something in, it's horrible. And it just doesn't work very well. So we're improving that by building the models that will recognize in all the languages of Switzerland what people are trying to ask. And the last thing is document processing that gets into our challenge. For students, I thought this might be knowing what a data science team looks like at a bank. So we have a very large analytics group, very small data science team, about 10 people. And we all come right now out of natural sciences. So back a few years ago, there were no data science majors, right? So everyone is kind of sourced from a natural science background with, master's or PhD, or myself, I was years in research in physics in dark matter, but now analyzing a different type of data. And we look for generally, for us at least, a very broad skill set. So this will be different if you're in, I think, a more established data group like at Google or something. But at a bank, we look for very broad skills with a little bit of specialization. And I showed kind of the tools we use. You're going to use some of those tools probably today, so you're already kind of prepared. So I wanted to give one example case, because if you talk too generally, it gets kind of boring. And the example of what we do is intelligent marketing. So I know for the people who are listening, raise your hands if you're in the market for a new retirement account right now. Okay. So you're either sleeping or 0 people are in the market for a new retirement account. And this creates a problem for us, right? We can't just, if we put a billboard up or we send a mail, it's not going to hit the right people. We could send now, there's 100 people in the room, maybe 100 mailings, and they will all go in the trash. And so it becomes a big problem of finding the right customer for the right product at the right time. And so we can do this for existing customers by taking a look at people that use our current products that are already invested in our system, and then putting the ad in front of them. So this guy we're putting a credit card in front of, and we choose him maybe by picking a guy who is invested already, has a few products from us, buys a lot of stuff online, maybe he's got some money coming in now, maybe he's a heavy user of his current card, and then the system will automatically pick him and find him. And we'll go even a little further. It might suggest what products have the most potential and what types of ads will reach them. So you're getting into an intelligent system. Since we're a business, everything comes down to money. You have to justify it with Swiss francs. And so I put some kind of fake numbers here. So in the advertising case, there's a reason every bank is doing this. You stand to make quite a bit of money by improving the efficiency of your advertisements. These are realistic but not true numbers. I'd be crucified for putting internal data here. But in our example campaign, we paid 150,000 francs to send a bunch of ads to 50,000 people. And as the response rate goes up, the profit we make over about a 5-year period increases very quickly. And if you just send random ads, you have a very low response rate. We've done some studies with random guessing versus gut feeling versus our models. And often gut feeling, if you pick what you think is a sensible campaign, is statistically compatible with just random, right? Even if you really think you're doing well, the model can always find better relationships and better customers. So every % then that you can improve the response rate with your model, in this example, is 375,000 francs. So this is funding the team with a couple campaigns very easily. The model itself is simple. You already probably, if you did a Kaggle competition, did something of this complexity. It's not so hard to do. You start with historical data. You reduce it by just cutting out people that are not qualified. And then you choose your classes. So you'll have historically people who have gotten a product, and then people who have not. It will be an unbalanced problem, so you have to balance the classes. But then you do a very traditional machine learning approach: feature engineering, modeling, and evaluation. So this is not so hard, and it's mostly, at this point in technology, automated. What's not automated is the machine. So part of making is you have to make it. You have to build the machine to do this thing. The machine starts with a data warehouse, which is not a given in an organization, that you have a data warehouse that contains all your information. We luckily do. And this is billions of rows, tens of thousands of columns, and you have to distill that into your features for machine learning. So this becomes a much more non-trivial problem in this case than the model itself. The model itself we've automated mostly. But the data that goes into it is quite complex, and breaking this down requires quite a bit of monitoring at each stage, because we're dependent, of course, on a lot of industry source systems. So the reason I kind of picked this example, it's very typical for a bank or a corporation. The models are simple, but it pays a lot. And in this case, really, the building and the engineering is the main driver of the quality. Good. So that brings me then to our challenge. So we actually had a problem making a challenge for you, because we're a bank. We can't give you any data. But we found something that we can do. And this was motivated by a really horrible situation we had last year when the coronavirus pandemic hit. So we had just kind of gone into home office. We were all kind of adjusting ourselves. And back at this time, the Swiss government decided that small businesses could apply for credits because all the businesses were closed, they were going out of business, they needed money. What the government did was then they acted very quickly, which is good. The application was via a paper form, you download it online, and then they said, you know, it would be very hard for us to process all these paper forms, we'll make the banks do it. And the banks said, wait, what? So this was, within a couple days, this happened. We got tens of thousands of forms, and this is actually public information. You can see we're number 3 in total number of credits given. And this is the time frame on the bottom. So this is, within a week, most of the applications were approved, which means that, I mean, they came in within days. So there was a mailbox, and thank God we didn't have like a quota on it, because it just got overrun. What we did at the time, data science was tasked with digitizing these forms, which were scanned by all of your parents, so you can imagine what they looked like. They were, you know, crooked and photographed, and it was not very good. This we didn't manage to do in time, so I'm still a little bitter about that. But what we did do in data science is we did some text mining to extract a lot of info from the emails and enrich kind of the application already with some of the information that we looked up in our databases to speed along the approval process. So this worked well. And yeah, some of the problems with digitizing things like this, you know, they're crooked, they all look different. The signature on this one's here, on this one it's on the bottom. And people did it wrong. I mean, this one, you were only supposed to fill out one of these boxes, and they did both. And it became a pretty complicated problem to solve in a short time. And the worst part of this problem is that there's nothing atypical about processing a paper application at PostFinance, because every product you book, as far as I know, is done via a paper contract. I just got a credit card last year with them, and I had to send a form in. And it got sent to a person who scanned it, who read it, digitized it, verified the signature with the one on file, and opened the account. This is horrible. It's something they're trying to fix, but it's being fixed very slowly. And what we could do to speed up this process is automate that department so that nobody has to sit and read forms all day. That's a miserable job. A human shouldn't have to do it. We can make a machine to do it. So what we're going to give for the challenge, you're going to get a sample of credit card applications, and this is purely because I was annoyed by writing my paper credit card application, so we chose that as an example. They're going to come in multiple language. Most of them are pretty well scanned, so it's not too hard, but some will be poorly scanned. There will be handwritten components like signatures that one could verify, and there will be information that is maybe incorrect or incomplete. These are real addresses on there that you could in principle verify. They're real businesses. You have to put where you work, for example. You could in principle verify. And we'll also provide a customer database in case you need it. Okay.
Also not bad, the credit cards. Thanks.
All right, is that better? Okay. Actually, I was almost done. So what you then build is up to you. So what I would like to see, personally, is just a product that you pitch and sell and convince me I need to buy it. Where you focus is kind of where your interest lies. So you could focus on OCR and just do the document processing. I hear there's something on the Azure cloud. At PostFinance, our cloud adoption is lagging a bit behind because of data privacy issues, so we didn't have that option at the time, but you could use this. Maybe you want to build an on-premises solution and compare it to what they have. Or maybe you want to expand it and actually verify signatures. So we have, for all these forms, a signature on file. That could be a machine learning problem, verifying a signature to another one. Maybe you want to look at the back end and build some type of system that verifies the information with other data sources. So I know you had an introduction to knowledge engines, knowledge graphs. That could be an application for that type of technology. Or maybe you want to focus on the automation and your app whiz that can take a picture with your smartphone and make a credit decision live with like a little green dot or something. I don't know. It's up to you, and you can do whatever idea sounds good to you. But whatever you build, you should be able to pitch it, and it should have, you know, of course, a machine learning or AI component if possible. Good. That's all I had. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Daniel. So the next one, I think I should play a video and then I'm gonna do it from here. Good, so we switch quickly to challenge number 3, and then we go back to the second one. It's provided by EDAC, and the presenter is going to be Richard Cordas, who is online. So now just a few nanoseconds that will be projected, hopefully. Hello, Richard, do you hear me? No. Hello, Richard, do you hear me? Hello, Richard, do you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. Hello. Yes, I'm here.
Nice.
Hello.
Wait, let me quickly see. Can you try to speak again?
Yes.
Can you try to speak again?
Hello to all. Yes.
Very well.
Hello to all.
Very well. Yes, one
Okay.
second that I increased. Yes, one second that I increased.
Yeah. So then I will just talk. Yeah. So then I will just talk. And would like to say hello to all. Would like to say hello to all. Hello from Fulda in Germany. From Fulda in Germany. Okay. So may I start with the presentation? May I start with the
Yes,
presentation?
thank you, Richard. The stage is yours. Thank you. 5 minutes. The stage is yours. I will be very strict. I will be very strict.
Okay, so I try to stick to the time. I try to stick to the time. From EDAC in Germany. My name is Richard Cordas, and I'm located in Fulda, and I'm located 100 kilometers northwest. 100 kilometers northwest. I'm in charge of the Telandro collaboration, and the challenge belongs to our division in the model division in the model shop. But just a quick intro of EDAC. Just a quick intro of EDAC. One of the biggest. So EDAC is one of the independent engineering service provider for the global mobility industry. For the global mobility industry. We are about 8,000 employees on 60 locations in 19 countries worldwide. In 19 countries worldwide. Automotive development and engineering services are our core competence. Furthermore, we are also able to show the ideas and solutions of our customer in hardware. As you can see, for example, building up show cars and building up show cars is what we are doing day by day in our model shop. Current development, the CityBot, which you can see here, is also prepared by our model shop. And just as a footnote, the CityBot is an autonomous and AI-supported working device for the city of the future. And if you're interested in future, we are also having a small AI team in EDAC. For more information, just visit our website. But let's carry on to the challenge, to the context. Some more EDAC concept models you can see on this page. Either way, for our internal or external customers, cost calculation is mandatory for almost all our activities before we get contracts or internal budget. And by always ending up with a lot of hours for calculation and preparation, quite a large amount of offers, the idea for having a smart calculation tool shows up. And here we are, the EDAX scope overview for the MAKEathon. So the idea is comparing existing calculation information of old days and bringing these entire information in allocation to components or modules to get average prices, to have an automated cost calculation. A corresponding database was already provided by EDAC. So here you see the folder structure and files provided in an amount of about 300 data sets in a zip file. So here's old cost calculations. And what you find inside is in the same the content in the same Excel format. So you see some text which is according to some activities, some parts, and so on. And you see hours, costs, and so on. On the other hand, the topic is to compare, to analyze these data, and to get an automated cost calculation tool. For sure, there are many of detailed information. Unfortunately, only in cells we are able to fill regarding to giving information of our customer. Please note the description and calculated hours and prices are always in relation to each other. You also got some minor RFQs, so you know what the customer wanted in the original one, and the regarding cost calculations, so that you can have an insight in the daily business, but it's all cleared, so you can't see any customer data here. So feel free to work with the data. And so I hope you can take this basis for doing your job. If we could get some advice for performing a better, proper database after the event, we would be really glad to get it. Saving best for last, me and my contact information. Feel free to contact me in any questions. And I would say thanks for your attention. I'm here. Give it a phone. Or I think you can also reach me via Teams. But if I just don't see the Teams ping, just call me. Then I will clarify the data or your questions.
Great, Richard. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Great, Richard. Thanks a lot.
So now we switch to Omnium. Is okay? Or okay, not that be. This one. Video present.
Sorry, did you say my name? I can hardly hear you.
Yeah, we hear you. Emanuele, you put back slides and mute yourself. You may. And Emanuele will go next. Emanuele will go next. Your slides.
Very good. Okay, I can't see these slides yet, but I trust they are on. So let me present the challenge from NordLB. I'm Danilo with Norddeutsche Landesbank in Germany. We are one of the largest universal institutional banks in Germany. And we do have a data laboratory with a team of data scientists. And one of the projects we have has to do with analyzing news articles. For example, we can, as you can see in one of the figures there, we can cluster and summarize news of our customers and extract important people and organizations called named entities from these articles. And this greatly supports our business units. But the artificial intelligence is not perfect, especially when you have a small set of articles and small data sets. And that's why we want to employ a concept called active learning. In active learning, the AI asks the human within the training process to give feedback on a smaller subset of the data that the AI is unsure about. We did put a very detailed description of what we want to do on the telanto.com homepage. You will also find detailed goals there. There should be a slide about that, listing the goals, such as providing a user interface for giving human feedback, for enabling the human to basically click on named entities, for example, and give the AI feedback on what is correct. We also did put a lot of files and links there for you to get started. For example, a link to a news data set and a link to a library with which you can do active learning. There's also an example homepage introducing the concept. And you should be able to get started pretty quickly with that. The challenge lies more in applying it to the news data set that is linked there. I can provide more details if necessary, and yeah, I wish you lots of fun working on this task.
Great, thank you, Danilo. I tried to keep up with your presentation. I should have shown all the slides now, and talk to you later maybe. Now we move on. We are going to play a video now for Omia. Alex Wade was the presenter. So here we are.
Hello, I'm Alex Wade, Director of Marketing for Omia in Region Americas. Omia is a Swiss-based minerals company and specialty chemical product distributor. The challenge we submitted to the MAKEathon is related to our initiative on competition monitoring, specifically the data we gather, filter, and report on. One of the things we do to monitor our competition is collect news from our competitors through a variety of channels. This could be industry publications, social media, government organizations, or even their own website. We also take the same approach on topics of interest, which gather articles that are not related to competition, but could be related to an area of interest within our organization. But the problem we face in this activity is the amount of data we receive from our RSS news feeds and the time it takes to filter those down to the relevant articles to report on. Not everything that comes in through our RSS feed is relevant to report on. We do have some documented criteria for keywords within our RSS feeds, but after that, it becomes a very manual process. What I mean by this is there's a person skimming the article headlines from the full list from our RSS feeds and selecting the appropriate ones to report on to the broader organization. What we would really like to do is eliminate this human step from going from a large data set to the small data set we report on. This is where the MAKEathon challenge comes into play. We're really interested in how machine learning could be applied to narrow down the articles we use based on our past history or the articles we've selected from the broader data set in the past. To support this, I have provided two data sets. One, with all the articles we've gathered from the RSS feed, and the second date is just the articles we selected to report on internally. Additionally, I'm willing to give temporary access to our InnoReader tool if necessary. This is the newsfeed aggregator that we've used to set up our RSS feed and establish the initial keyword filtering criteria. As I'm in the US, I won't be available for the whole duration of your MAKEathon, but I can make myself available from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time from November 6th and on November 7th. So my mornings, November 6th and 7th. To get in touch with me, please reach out to my email, alex.wade@omia.com. That's alex.wade@omya.com. Additionally, you can also send me a text message to 1-513-508-0844. Thanks for your time and consideration, and I hope you accept my challenge.
May I just shortly say a few words? So we've heard 3 presentations of challenges now, people who are not in the room. And I think, Emanuele, you suggested that for the group formation, people should go where the challenge providers are, right? And since these 3 people are not here, I would be the one. I will be here, okay, at this desk. So if you want to work on either EDAC or NordLB or OMIA challenge, please come here. I also have the data, and regarding OMIA, you heard Alex is still sleeping, but he's going to be available, if I calculated correctly, from Eastern Standard Time at 1 o'clock, so we can chat to him then. And if you have any questions, I can also help you for getting started, I would say. And that's it. So if you want to work on any of these challenges, I will be here. Okay. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Frieder. And now we switch to the physical presentations. We're not going to have interruptions anymore. But before Dario gets on stage, let me tell you there is an additional AI expert who is a mentor and coach that, apologies, I didn't mention, it was not in the slide. And his name is Professor Dr. Olgerwacke. Please wave your hand. He's also one of our coach and mentors. Good. Now, Dario Trovatelli, very interesting challenge ahead. You have 5 minutes, as always. As for everyone, this is the pointer.
Thank you very much.
And I give you also the cone. Thank you.
All right. So, dear makers, I would like to present to you a very practically oriented problem. And so you might be asking yourself, what is this presentation all about? Why is there runners? What does running have to do with AI? Well, quite a lot, because what you see here is Greg. And Greg is a big fan of Garmin products, so he wears a Garmin watch all day long. And the Garmin watch, pretty much what it does is it's a data generator. Now, the data can be used for a lot of things. And now, Greg, he also works project management. He knows that one of the most important things is scheduling. So being able to schedule something so that you know that you can even, hit the goal. So it's actually not a very big problem because Greg is a marathon runner and Garmin has very sophisticated, let's say, software analysts, data analysts. I'm not a pro, as you can hear. And so Greg just looked at his watch, and his watch told him that he can run a marathon in 2:38, so 2 hours 38. And so he thought, that's cool, let's just try it out. Let's see what happened. And so Greg actually managed to run a marathon in 2 hours 42, so we can assume that Garmin did a very good job, or at least their machine learning did a very good job. But the thing is, a marathon, it's the gray line down here, is very flat. And it's very easy to predict the time. So the watch predicted the time. You can see the purple dots here are the splits, which pretty much determines his speed running. And so it's a very simple task. Now Greg, he's going with a trend. And the trend is called trail running. So it's running in the mountains. It goes up and down. And so you can see that this participation in trail running, and the participation in trail running just in the US alone is increasing exponentially. So we can assume it's the same for the rest of the world. Now the problem with trail running is that he just assumed that it's going to be the same as marathon running. He kind of did some rough scheduling and didn't really work out, because in trail running you go up and down mountains, and you can see it's visualized by this graph down here. So it's actually going down and up and down and up again. And so he thought, well, that's a problem, because he would like to be able to predict when he reaches this purple dot, or this one, or going back down that one, because as you know, going up is harder than going down, so that going down should be faster. Well, it's actually not that easy to calculate. So what Greg actually did was he just used his watch. He pressed the button number 3, and then button number 3 gave him some kind of a segment in the data set, and he used that segment in the data set to manually calculate his speeds going up and down, different gradients. And so he used Excel, because he's not a pro in either machine learning or AI. He did it manually, and he ended up with this equation right here. This is running function, where y is the gradient going up or down, and x is actually his running speed. And he thought, oh, that's something. He tried it out. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too precise, but most of all, it just involved a lot of labor, and it's not consumer friendly. What he did was, every time he hit a top, he would have to hit this button to segment the data. So he would have a segment red, then blue again, red, blue, which would be visualized here in the Excel. Now, this is not very precise. It's a lot of work, and most of all, when he's running and he gets tired, he just forgets to press the button, at which point the data becomes useless. Well, the thing is, we can also just not do anything to the watch, get a huge file with a lot of numbers in it, and we should be able to use some kind of AI to kind of analyze the data. Now, as I said, Greg is not a pro, but he was actually hoping that maybe here in the audience, the makers would have a solution for him ready. So Greg was looking at ending up with a very precise equation, but he thought, all right, that's cool. If the time is sufficient, then maybe we could start adding some other things, like condition of the trail or the weather, or whether or not he was tired, or maybe even automatically retrieve the data of the Garmin website, because what he's done now is just download it manually. A lot of labor. Now he thought, maybe if it works out, Garmin could be interested to implement this, because they have been bringing up a solution, but it's not very good, to be honest. I thought maybe the community could just be interested in his solution, and he could just distribute it for free as a kind of a common good. So if you're interested to help Greg, that would be nice. Thank you for your attention.
Good, so we continue, and I just quickly say who are the next till the end, so they can get ready. So the very next one is Rohit, then we have Gurmit and Anne, then we have Angelica, Ryan, Diego, Berg, and Laus, finally, okay? So Rohit, I think I saw Rohit here, yes? Perfect. Rohit, the stage is yours. I'm gonna set the presentation for you in the meantime. Normally, no?
To connect to this. Can I connect to the HDMI?
Let's try. Good. Thank you, Roy. 5 minutes.
Thank you. So hopefully I won't take 5 minutes. So this is the product that I'm working on. It's called Noonly. And the aim of this product is to provide recipe recommendations for people who are looking for, who are searching the internet for recipes. So we are the founders. I am Rohit. You can get my contact information there. So I have worked in the past in IT industry, and I have around 18 years of experience. With me is Renze, who's basically a data scientist who works with a lot of data. So he leads the machine learning. He was supposed to be here, but he couldn't be here today because he came back from travel and his family is sick. So what does Noonly do? So Noonly delivers scheduled, personalized recipe recommendations. It memorizes your preferences, and then it learns from your eating behavior when you're using the app. So it provides meal preferences, it provides daily notification, and it also additionally provides a shopping list. How does it work? You give your preferences, you get a notification, you can cook that recipe. You can also quickly convert your your ingredients into a shopping list and just go cooking. So this is our plan. So we are currently in the closed pilot. So everybody is welcome. You can go to the website, scan that code, and request access. And then we go into a public launch. So we were in MAKEathon 2020. That's where we kind of built upon this idea. And the lessons learned was data is not alone enough. And I can answer these questions in detail because I just have 5 minutes. You can reach out to me. And then you can learn a lot from data. So you can actually build features based on the data that you're looking at. What is the challenge that we bring? So the challenge is, if you remember Netflix, so popular on Netflix. Similarly, we want to do a popular on Noonly. So the data that I bring, that's how it looks like. So it's basically a cumulative data of all the users' preferences who have rated a recipe on one of these websites. So for example, Chef Koch, or there are some other websites, Swiss Milk and others. So you will get a data file which will have recipe name, it will have their rating, and as well as how many people have rated for that particular recommendations. And that's it. How long was it?
Thank you, Roy.
Thanks. And just in case if you're working remotely, this is what you can do. You can shoot your questions at Noonly on Twitter, and I will answer it. Thank you.
Thank you. Great to see the progress. And so now it's the turn of Gurmit Sandhu and Nanne Akilburg. You need 2 microphones? Yeah? Sure. I can hand it over to Grace, no problem. So one, and then I can just quickly fetch it. And this is the pointer. Yeah, perfect. Maybe. Welcome. Good.
Thank you. Can you hear me? So, good morning, everybody. I'm Gurmit Sandhu. I'm here with my co-founder, Anne. So you'll recognize 2 images from Netflix. So this is basically The Good Doctor and also Love on the Spectrum. Our project is about a patient-relevant digital tool from patient to person. And Love on the Spectrum is particularly important because people with autism, to form relationship, to finish education and training, this is something everybody takes for granted, but it's very challenging for them. And in fact, most of them can't achieve it. So this project actually has a large impact if you decide to work with us, which we encourage you. So I'm a Master's of Medical Informatics student, which what Knut had mentioned. And last year I was part of a winning team on digital biomarkers, which is what this project is about again. So we are going to offer you the carrot before we offer you the project. So there are two carrots, two initiatives. So the first one is that the winning team for this project will be invited by myself and Anne to go to a workshop or user design workshop, disease burden workshop, so you can actually ask the stakeholders directly yourself whether your machine learning tool is valuable or not. So it goes beyond this workshop. So see it for yourself, listen it for yourself. And secondly, we are going to be working with the data from the European study called DREAM. This data, like again Knut was alluding to, is about young people, also Andres Martin, it's 3 to 6 year old. And the researcher has also invited for the winning team to load your machine learning code on GitHub so others can also learn for it. So there is life beyond this weekend on this project. Now it's my pleasure to hand over to Anne.
Yeah, pleased to meet you and pleased to be here. Just to introduce myself, I'm not a student here at the University of Applied Science, but I'm a co-founder, as Gurmit was already saying, and I'm a digital health enthusiast. I'm also a market and patient access specialist for medicines, and I have 25 years of experience working in pharmaceuticals as a strategic consultant and in the industry. So quickly, what is autism about? What is really bad with autism is that it really early manifests, and basically the parents detect it quite early in the phase of patients' lives, of the children's lives in the first 3 years. It is affected, or it affects in Switzerland approximately 60,000 people. That's an estimate. We don't know the real numbers, but that is the size of Lucerne and Lugano. And what is it about? People really face impairment in their social communication. They have really difficulties to stay engaged with another person. They have difficulties to read their emotions. They have difficulties to really stay in a relationship or engaged with somebody else. They have repetitive disorders. They often really have comorbidities such as attention deficit disorder. They also have depression. So it really impacts early children's lives a lot. And their developmental age also is really not represented by their actual age. So it is a severe disease. You can see from the pictures, the children do almost not react to another person. So if we go on to the next slide, this makes it a bit clearer. People with autism can't recognize somebody else's face. So imagine you were an autist, you would see another person's face, say you are somewhere in a train, like this. So they can't recognize the face, hence they cannot read emotions and they can't stay connected or engaged. So what does it mean during the children's journey in their life? It means really at the beginning they are very dependent on their parents and other caregivers. So cognition, communication, movement, socialization are outcomes that really are relevant for the parents when they engage with their children. The older the children grow, in fact, the more they, of course, would like to be more independent. They would like to be a nice classmate when they come to school age. And when they grow being a teenagers, they would like to also stay engaged. So the more they grow, the more they would like to become independent. And what that means is they would like to be a self-advocate. They would like to express themselves. So participate and contribute towards society through self-determination is the goal, what we would like to achieve with our machine learning.
Thank you, Anne. So basically, this is the patient journey. It's very commonly used in pharma. There are 3 stages. So journey to diagnosis is often very complicated. To get a diagnosis and a diagnosis is often very difficult. Parents are often misunderstood and blamed. For example, the child is often stigmatized. Our focus really is after diagnosis. Access to standard of care is patchy. When it's available, it's not available everywhere. And affordability is a key issue because families often cannot achieve their full earning capacity. The unmet need, like Anne said, is really the lack of self-advocacy, and we believe machine learning tool can actually allow you to do that. And the point I want to really reiterate from what Anne has said before is early intervention. So the 3 to 6 year old, the sort of children that are sitting in the room here at the beginning, that's where we can actually, we and you can actually make a difference to their lives. So there are two or three mini cases. The first one is the patient journey. We believe machine learning, which is really the portal at the top for self-advocacy. Underneath is actually improving the patient journey, so finding a way on how you can add value and do that through your task. And also the data is important. We work in healthcare, and as you know, healthcare requires evidence, and there are ways to show that. And one of the things we're trying to do is allowing payers to actually pay for this tool because there's an evidence to show that the technology works and we avoid another AI winter. And finally, trust and transparency, the 2T. Patients have told us again and again and again to many agencies with medical device, with AI, trust and transparency is really important. So we like you to address that. Technology alone is not sufficient. This is basically the challenge. We invite you to form a team with diverse background. You don't have to be a coder. You can also add value. We will be in the briefing room. We've invited a pediatrician from Basel to come and talk about the clinical context so you can ask questions. We've done some videos with the data providers, so there are good amount of videos you can look at and understand for yourself. So the challenge really is on biomarkers. There are 3. Your eye gaze, this is collected, your head orientation, and your body orientation. Pretty much those are the digital biomarkers. The task is to see whether it's feasible to use this in relation to their age or gender or how severe. And there are 2 interventions, robot versus therapy, whether you could identify. And then there are 3 therapy tasks, things that you and I take for granted, how to imitate, how to take turn, and join attention. So really, in summary, it is a feasibility task. The data set is provided in a JSON file and a CSV. We've done as much as data cleaning as possible. So there is some pre-processing required, but we've done the bulk of the work for you, and we will be both there to do it. So it's basically to see whether you can do a classification task. And I think, just to summarize again, the carrots, why you should think about us and joining this in. We will invite you to bring your machine learning tool outside this room, meet the parents, meet the teacher, meet the pediatrician, and grown-up children to see whether it's useful, right? You want to see whether it's useful. I see a few heads nodding. And then we also invited you can actually be part of research, that you can actually put it there. And as you can see, a lot of the robots are involved. So if you like robotic movements, we've got plenty of data to show you. So I think we both welcome you to come and talk to us. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Gurmeet and Anne, for this very interesting challenge, and great to have you back, Gurmeet. I had forgotten to mention that you were part of the winning team of last year. Now, the next challenge, Angelica De Ricci. I'm also happy that Angelica is here. I was her supervisor for the bachelor thesis, and this is a very interesting topic. Also, early detection, but on anomalies of pets, not humans. So Angelica, the stage is yours. I'm going to give you one mic that I would like to disinfect quickly. Thank you. And the pointer, here.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
So I'm really excited to be here and to present you my challenge. This is the short agenda. First, I will tell you something about AI Tales, after about the challenge itself, and the last point, the support that we can offer you. So what is actually AI Tales? AI Tales focuses on these 3 areas. So if the pet is actually happy, if it is sick, and especially for cat owners if the litter box is clean, as this is usually quite a big pain point. And how do we want to do that? We will focus mainly on sensor data, so for example, water sensors, cameras, and scale sensors. With that, we can analyze the data, and if an anomaly has been detected, a notification should be sent to the pet holder's smartphone and notify if the cat or the pet might be sick. These are the benefits that we can offer with the data. So for example, with the water sensors, we can say on a quite early stage if there are some chronic kidney problems, also hypertension, and for overweight pets, controlled feeding access to the food station, or also for pets who need medication. Now about the challenge part. The challenge is to implement the first prototype with the camera sensor. So meaning that the cat picture that we have received from the Animal University of Bern, they need to go to the Azure cloud service, be analyzed there, and if an anomaly has been detected, an alert should be sent on the smartphone that something might seem wrong. Important is that there should be a sensitivity setting that can be manually adapted. Now the support. There will be Dr. Andrea Blaser available if there are any questions related to animal health, and also an IT provider from this challenge will be here if there are any IT-related questions in terms of this challenge. And of course, from the side of AI Tales, there will be also a little prize distributed for the best solution. I'll be really excited to work with you to this challenge, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Angelica. So the next one is Ryan Peter, also a student of ours. So glad to have you here, Ryan. That's the pointer. And this is the microphone. Oh, I mentioned Peter, not Prater. Sorry.
Oh, good. Okay, so this is an advanced literature search assistant, possibly. A little bit about me. I only put this up because I'm not sponsored by a company or anything. This is just a project I'm actually working on in Manuel's class, and figured this was actually a really nice opportunity to incorporate it in MAKEathon and also incorporate other ideas from you all. The problem, maybe some of you are master's students, maybe not. I guess also you're writing bachelor's theses. The problem is, especially students writing their theses and also researchers, often start with a few resources, such as a study or an author, and then these are given to the student, and then the big question comes, okay, what do I do with this? So where do I start? I have a couple studies, and they're pretty nice, but do I go to Google Scholar? I start with Scopus because Knut says I should start with Scopus, but then what do I actually search for? And then where do I go from there? So the goal, I'm not going to go into the global and all of this, but hopefully you've heard of unknown unknowns, right? So we want to discover things that we don't actually know. And we don't want to get stuck in a valley. So we don't want to say, I'll get to that in a second, but the goal is basically we want to redefine how we search for literature. So we don't want to just go break our research questions into keywords and then type those into Google Scholar and then take the first 20 results. We want to actually redefine how we're searching. And so this is an example. So that's covering it up, but basically this is your Holy Grail study, right? So your supervisor gives you a study. It's from Joachim 2005, and you're like, okay, this is cool. I'm going to put this in my thesis. I'm going to base my thesis around this study. This is the study. And then you find out, oh, wait, this isn't related to the subject at all, and you just wasted 3 months reading about literature that doesn't actually matter, or it's not up to date. And so, I'm personally motivated by this because I started doing my thesis on sustainability, which I find super interesting, but it's a very upcoming topic, and unfortunately, a lot of the The staff and the supporting resources here are very new, right, to sustainability. So it was very much like this for me. And so what the objectives are, given a study or an author or a journal or keywords, can you find what comes next? So where do you search for your resources? The second objective is to structure the literature into a knowledge graph. This is actually pretty common now. I don't want to say common, but it's in the past 2 to 3 years, it's become very popular. So Microsoft has I think it's called the academic knowledge graph. There is also the open knowledge graph. There's a few of them, but basically these are just structured databases. So they use graph databases, they structure the data. There's even some ontologies for academic resources, but they don't actually take us to the next step, which is the first objective. So ideally, we want to use machine learning. If there's a better or an easier way, we don't need that technically, but we want to actually improve our search capabilities in academic resourcing. So I've provided some data for the challenge, but really it's very open. But just to kind of give everyone the same starting point, there's a CSV export from Scopus for business model innovation. Originally, my idea was to use keywords that nobody had any idea of, maybe like quantum physics, right? But then I thought actually for evaluation, it might be better if we use something that the challenge staff here are familiar with. That way we can actually properly evaluate, hey, does this work? Is it accurate? There's a CSV of scientific journal rankings, which you may or may not use. Likewise, this is out of date actually. Okay, so I've added a few other data points here, but really it's kind of up to you. You can type in, I'm short on time. You can type in on the internet, so academic resources, knowledge graph, and there's a ton of resources. Likewise, you can also connect it with authors, or it really gets into the question of what are you searching for and how can we improve that search. The evaluation, this is also going to be very subjective, and I will probably leave this to the MAKEathon staff because they are also researchers, right? But ideally, we want to improve time savings. So is it easier now to search with this tool, with this new tool, than it is to use Google Scholar? The research direction, categorization, also bonus points if you can make it deployable, but not required. There's some final notes. So there is, actually this is also out of date, but there's not really an NDA because I'm not backed by a company or anything, but ideally we can structure this in a way that every group member walks away with a copy of their code, and then whatever you want to do with it after that is up to you. And then keep the end user in mind, right? So you are probably all students. So I've already been pitching this in our class, and I've had a few colleagues come up to me and say, hey, do you have something I can use yet? Because I'm writing my thesis right now, and I really use this. I actually started building a prototype myself last year. For my own reasoning, I went in a different direction, and so now I'm kind of starting over. So I'm actually starting fresh, starting today. I'm also a maker and open to teammates. This is also out of date, sorry, but very open to kind of all skill sets. If you're technical, Python, JavaScript, Neo4j. I've also been looking into the Databricks and Microsoft solutions. Those seem really interesting. If you don't have technical experience, that's okay. Pitching, slide decks, documenting, all of that. Drinking coffee is a joke. You don't need to drink coffee, but it's really good. And there is a updated slide deck which has a lot more sources. One of those resources is a paper published by 4 of the staff here, and that's very interesting and very much in the direction I'm talking about. So hopefully we can get that updated on the files, and then yeah, cool.
Thank you, Ryan. Very happy to see you here from class to the MAKEathon with this interesting challenge that many students, I'm sure, will benefit of. So now the turn is of Diego Fanesi. Diego is coming on behalf of Databricks, which is also a gold sponsor. let me quickly. Yes. Here it is. There, okay. This and this. Thank you, Diego. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Diego Fanesi, Resident Solutions Architect from Databricks. And today I'm here to, first of all, help you with our technology, our platform in this competition, but also to propose a challenge to kind of bring some of the enterprise challenges we see across our customers here in this competition and give you the opportunity to see some of the challenges we see in the field. So what is Databricks? Very briefly, it's the company behind Spark. So the very first version of Spark was developed by the co-founders of Databricks, and that's how Databricks started. Databricks started as a platform preferred for Spark and for big data, but then we evolved much beyond that, more on data science and data engineering at scale, and trying to and we came up with a product which we see as a unified data analytic platform, right? For this enables generally teams inside companies to collaborate among each other into multiple projects, and it's also the company behind the Lakehouse architecture. The Lakehouse architecture is a new pattern which is trying to challenge the existing data warehouses. And we recently demonstrated in a competition that we are actually able to perform faster, 2 times faster than any other data warehouse in the market. So we talk about ML. We heard a lot of it this morning, a lot of ML problems, but essentially there is always a scale factor when it comes to applying those models, right? Essentially, we are able to get good results from our machine learning if we have lots of data, if we have good data, but also if we are able to perform those algorithms at scale, right? When we perform those algorithms on large data sets, everything changes. And how do we scale our algorithms on large data sets? There are some very interesting machine learning algorithms which look very good on paper, but when you go and try to apply them on big data, you are not able to use it. So yes, those will be useful for some small, like where you can train the model on a small data set, but when you need a big data set to train the data, well, you cannot really use them. So this is to say that the problem is less simple when there is the scale factor, and it becomes very complex when we have an SLA, which means when our machine learning algorithm has to make a prediction within X amounts of seconds or milliseconds, right? It can be done, but not in every case, right? So this is the challenge, is a recommendation system. Well, recommendation system, everyone have built one, where is the challenge, right? Well, the challenge is because is in the size of the data set. I was able to find online a data set from Amazon. This is the reason why, is because we are not able to use customer data. We are not able even to mention who the customers are and the exact problems of the customer because of an NDA problem. But I try to reproduce the same problem that we see across multiple customers using free available data. So it's a free data set. And the second part of the challenge is that we want real-time predictions on anonymous users. They visit our website. So consider this. You know the user. You know what the user have bought before and what have looked at, what products have looked at. You can train a model to make predictions. You train the model and then you use it. But when we have an anonymous user, first of all, we have a limited number of interactions. We might have a session where a user looks at 5, 6 products, right? Looking at those 5, 6 products, how do we keep that user into the platform? How do we propose relevant products to inside our platform, right? So now we have a real-time problem. We have to be quick. We have to present our results quickly. And we don't know, we have limited knowledge about the user. So where Databricks will help you here? Well, Spark will allow you to distribute the computation. Delta Lake will make queries very efficient. Delta Lake is a storage format. Photon, our new query engine, will make the performances of your query to scale much higher than what Spark alone can do and be much faster. Plus, our pre-configured ML environment will speed up your team, right? You get a pre-configured ML environment with all the libraries already there and pre-configured. You just need to create either a cluster if you are working with big data, or a single node, right? A single machine, a single virtual machine to compute your data. And you get pandas, Python, scikit-learn, and many other, like TensorFlow, many other libraries already out of the box. So just a little bit more on the scale factor. When we have big data sets, complexity becomes very important, right? Even n squared becomes too much complex. And we cannot retrain the model at every visit, right? We cannot retrain the model at every new anonymous user we get into the platform. So we have to find a solution to query our data very efficiently, being able to tailor our research on a number of products, a number of users, which is a big, which is a smaller subset of all the data we have available, right? So we think knowledge engineering can help reducing this complexity. If you are able to find a good way to store knowledge about products and store knowledge also about users, having a metadata kind of, let's call it database, will help you to reduce the scope of your search, of your query, and make it more efficient and make this feasible. Now, to add to this, if you find a good solution to this problem and we think that the solution you have found is very interesting, I will actually invite you to present your solution also inside our machine learning subject matter expert group, which includes people from all over the world, from Databricks, who will be very happy to listen to your solution and also make questions and so on. So I hope you will choose this challenge, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Diego. Certainly exciting. So now I would like to call on stage Berg Ergens. This speech is going to be in German, but there will be slides. So in case you're not English speaker, feel free to get in touch with Berg. First things first, Berg, 1 and 2. Pointer. Thank you.
Enable the laser, this one? Yeah, okay.
Good. You can start 5 minutes, Berg.
Okay, thanks. Ja, grüezi miteinander. Mein Name ist Berg Ergens. Ich bin der CEO von OnRemote. Und bevor ich auf die Challenge eingehe, würde ich gerne kurz mal zeigen, was wir machen, damit man den Kontext hat. Wir haben eigentlich, grundsätzlich haben wir einen Videotelefonie-Service, mit dem man mit Augmented Reality auf der Camera Roll zeichnen kann und pinnen kann. Also sprich, man kann plattformübergreifend und bidirektional Videos erstellen und so kommunizieren. Respektive man kommuniziert und dann erhält man ein Video. Über das Device Hub können auch weitere Informationen synchronisiert werden. Das ist jetzt aber irrelevant für die Challenge. Wir haben einfach am Ende einer Konversation ein recht großes Datenset. Und unser Ziel ist es, langfristig auch automatisiert über Augmented Reality Lösungsvorschläge anzubieten. Okay. Ich zeige das am besten mal. So wie ihr hier sehen könnt, läuft einfach auf dem Endgerät der Service. Und dort habe ich einen PIN gesetzt, den kann ich auch anreichern mit weiteren Daten. Und hier zeichne ich etwas ein. Diese Infos werden nachher ins Backend geladen, sprich wir haben hier auch die Koordinaten vom Zeichnen und weitere Infos vom PIN. Was für uns heute wichtig ist, ist Folgendes. Wie ihr seht, lassen wir hier einen Video Intelligence Service laufen, das ist konkret der von Google. Wir haben auch weitere Module wie Speech to Text etc. Aber heute möchten wir darüber reden, dass der Output hier ist jedes Mal Remote Control. Also das System erkennt, dass es eine Fernbedienung ist, aber das ist zu wenig, oder? Unser Ziel ist es, dass wir nicht nur erkennen, dass es eine Fernbedienung ist, sondern auch, was für eine Fernbedienung es ist, oder? Also quasi, dass man über diesen Button im Backend manuell den Datensatz verfeinert. Danach, beim nächsten Mal, wenn man den Service laufen lässt, dass das System nicht einfach Remote Control sagt, sondern was für ein Gerät es ist. Okay, may I make this also in English for the other guys who didn't get it? So we get data. This is coming from Google AI service. And you can manually edit it by using this in the backend. And what we want to do is to get this next time as an output. Okay. We don't care which service you use to solve this problem. I have also here the download link with the data. There is a video and a JSON file which you can download to put it into your model. And here there is a QR code with my business card if you have questions. We have 3 people working on the challenge, so you are not alone if you want to join our team. And yeah, I hope, yeah, that we can solve the problem together. Many thanks.
Thank you, Berk. Great to know that you also have a team already. And yeah, now we are going to hear the very last pitch. So I would like to welcome the representative of Baloise, Laus Rieger, right? Should be this one, huh? Yes. Give me 2 seconds. So the pointer first, and the microphone. Maybe it's off. Should be. Yeah,
Now it's better. Okay. So let's say Baloise Insurance, I think you guys know it. It's not so far away from Alton. But maybe I say some words to my person. Well, I am, let's say, an AI advanced analytics manager at Baloise. So I'm the guy who's looking for new use cases and who's checking whether advanced analytics technology fits into our business problems. And this is why I brought you a problem which we currently have, right? Today it's about relationships. And it's a fact that it's much easier to keep a relationship you have running than create a new relationship, right? If you take a look to your friends, it's like this. If you take a look to your wife or your husband, it's like this. But it's also the same for companies. If you already have a customer, it's much easier to keep that customer than to find a new one, right? If you look to a bank, it's very hard to get new customers from another bank, right? Even it's the same for insurances, right? And we call this topic churn management. Churn management is a term which consists of change and turn, which means like going away from you, right? You find a lot of material inside of the internet regarding churn management, what you're doing. Right here we have our definition, what we understand about it. So with churn management, you can create scores, right, which we then use. We can create campaigns. We can create new ways to communicate with our customers, new service strategies to prevent churn. And this is the problem it's today about, right? Churn could also be seen together with one thing which is very popular in the insurance industry. It's customer lifetime value, right? Which means, okay, we have a customer for 1 year and he has a high premium, is okay for us. But if we have a customer with a low premium, but for 20 years or complete customer lifetime, let's say so, he is going to be a very good customer for us, right? So the challenge, or what I need from you guys, is at first some informations about our customers at the, how did I call it, blah, blah, insurance, let's say so. So who are the guys that are churning? How do you expect the customer lifetime of those guys? Is it the old ones which are leaving us? Is it the young guys which are leaving us? What are the facts inside of that? Right, and one thing to solve the solution would be to create something like personas, right? So these are characters which are an example for employees, right? So like me, for instance, my persona would be an best ager, 44, having a family, having a good job, and so on. And I think so. I'm very loyal. Why am I loyal? I don't know, but you would have also some other personas. In this case, And what I furthermore would like to have to use it in my business processes would be a model which is able to predict churn, right? Even at the moment when the new customer arrives to us, so we can say which servicing strategy would be the right for him. To solve this problem, you're gonna have a data set which is actually not a Balois specific data set, but it's representative from the format itself. You have a good explanation on that. It's already, let's say, a very cleaned data set because a master thesis has been written on exactly this data. So there's a lot of content inside. You can use it. And yeah, I would be very happy if you choose this challenge. Absolutely. To make it a little bit more difficult, it's like that you will not get much support of my person. So I'm going to leave before lunch, right? So you are alone with the problem. And tomorrow there's going to be another person which is checking the result. But anyhow, this could also be an advantage for you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Klaus, and thank you also for supporting the MAKEathon this time as a bronze sponsor. So now we're done with the challenging session. I guess we are a bit hungry. I guess a little bit tired. We need to drink and eat something, maybe do a biological break. So my suggestion is the following. First, I do very, very shortly show you again Microsoft Teams where you can find the stuff. And then we can directly have lunch. While having lunch, you can team up. And we are here, we can support you. So very, very quickly. This is our general channel. I already had sent one very important link a few seconds ago. There you're going to find this marvelous Excel file where you can enter the requested data, including whether you have dinner tonight and lunch tomorrow. Then you have Ask Databricks, Ask Microsoft, and OntoText, and Ask Lexcellence. They're already active there, waiting for you to ask questions. Then we're going to have, that's it. This is it. Then what do we have in the general? If you go to files or Dateien, then we have several folders, challenge providers. There you can see all the challenge providers with their short description and contacts as well. Then you have coach and staff. You can again see who are the coaches, mentors, and staff. Makers, here inside you have this Excel sheet. Then recordings, here are the tutorials that we had with the 3 technology providers. And here in the slides folder, you have all the slides of the company challenges, challenge providers, sorry. And yeah, then tutorials, pre-event. Also here you have some additional learning material. And finally, my slide deck, welcome and info, in case you have missed something. For example, you didn't have time to scan the QR code for the GitHub repository. Do not worry, everything is here. If you have any other questions, then just feel free to reach out to me or anyone else. Yeah, so yeah. Here we have the challenge contacts, and then inside we have all the data. Almost. Okay, good. So now I just wish you a very nice lunch break, and let's team up together. Thanks for your attention.